Every time we want to know ourselves as the oneness, it's a balancing act. It's an act to want to know ourselves as this service, to want to participate in something higher. And yet we also want to know ourselves as this individual who came in order to enact this service, which is this sense of oneness that we maintain while we're amongst everyone else. Now, everyone is of the oneness. Knowing this is not the service itself, it's the wanting to know this that causes the act of service. And let me explain that. What that means is when you want to know that you're of the oneness and you want to know that you're of this service, you will look for it within your highest place. And it's that wanting to know it that allows your brain to settle, if you will, and to just focus on that place where the oneness comes to know its place within yourself. We call this the center of the self, if you will. And so the wanting, again, just almost triggers the brain to know that it's time to be quiet. And when you focus your gaze upon the center of your chest, you start to feel that part of you that just wants to emanate, that comes from this place that is whole, that comes from this place that can be known as source, though no one can truly know it. You just feel it in a way where you know it, where you can explain it to yourself. And again, it's not the knowing it that causes the greatest act of service. It's the desire to maintain your connection to it as best as you can that allows it to emanate or incorporate itself into this material world. And so why that's important is because everyone contains this sense of wholeness within themselves. And at some point, we all step away from it. In order to be part of the corporeal world, we all need to maintain our sense as an individual in order to act among others in this world. If you maintained a sense of your wholeness and you were fully aware of it, it would be very difficult to hold that body and to maintain a state of wellness within it while you're here. So when you want to know that higher state, when you want to know the oneness on behalf of someone else, again, it's a balancing act. You start to know it within yourself, and yet you are able to maintain a physical act in this world, your physical self. And it's not as if you're anointed and you're able to go out and be amongst other people and help them to pray or maintain their high sense of higher self as well. It's remembering that we are all connected. And so for each and every person, each and every individual who wants to look toward their highest self, not even necessarily to maintain it, but who is just inquisitive and wondering about their higher self, it draws your attention toward where we are whole. And because we are connected, the entire lower self will as well. And others who want to maintain that sense of an individual self won't necessarily know that they've been drawn toward it, and it may not make any difference in their world at all as they know it, but it will as far as consciousness goes. When we speak of where we are whole, we recognize that there are individuals in this world. We recognize that there are others who want to maintain a sense of being an individual and never want to know that sense of connectedness that we all have, where we are part of the oneness and ultimately are an active source. And yet something in them will feel pain, if you will, because they are not following their nature of where they are whole. If someone is solely acting as an individual and wants to reinforce that in their world by their actions, by what they own or how they live in this world amongst other people, in an act of selfishness perhaps, they will feel the pain of not knowing where they are whole. And so that is why we say the greatest act of service just comes from wanting to know where you are, this oneness, so that they don't know pain on that level, so that something within them feels where you have enacted this service, where you start to lift your own domain so that you start to feel whole. And again, once you recognize that we're all connected, you'll recognize where it affects them as well, and perhaps they won't know as much pain, or perhaps they'll push even further into their individual self and will no longer know themselves as a part of that wholeness, that consciousness that we all feel somewhere within ourselves. So we can't control what they want to know about this, and we will never try to. But for yourself, if you feel this quest to want to know where you're whole, it's incumbent upon you to quest for it as an act of service, so everyone else who doesn't want to know where they maintain, where they are whole, or where they are part of the oneness, can somehow know it as well. And when they are ready to return to that sense of knowingness, that they are part of the oneness, part of the whole, part of the source, whatever made us, if you will, then it will be much easier for them to maintain that consciousness. And so, as we've said, it is a balancing act. It's a balancing act for Jill. It's a balancing act for everyone else in this world, to maintain that sense of wholeness while we're frightened, while we're challenged, while we're excited, while we're falling in love with somebody for the first time, and we don't really want to focus on things such as the higher self. But something in you will know that none of those exterior experiences will have the same balance to them if you don't find that balance within yourself first. And when you find within yourself where you are whole, then we just want you to go out and enjoy this entire lower world, this entire lower self experience, where you maintain where you're an individual, where you get to feel the love for another, where you get to feel that you're so much more than your physical self here. Perhaps you impart that love on an animal, and you just feel that sense of companionship, that sense of cohesiveness, that unity again, even though that's an animal, you're a human, although we are animals as well. But again, it's just the balancing act, and it's your will to maintain it that will make the entire difference to this lower world, much more than anyone will ever be able to capture within their sense of this world while we're looking out upon it. So all that is left is for you to recognize where you have the desire to maintain that oneness on behalf of someone else. And that's all that we teach through Jill. And when you find that desire, again, you may follow us in the way that we want to look toward it, in the way that we meditate, and we find that wholeness. But more importantly, we hope you just find that for yourself, and you practice that, and you find your own way to maintain it. And you will. Anytime you want to know your higher self, you can't help but contain it. Again, you look toward it, and suddenly you are a part of it. You maintain its perspective in this world. And so it is. Amen.